Hey y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new, welcome, and if you've been here before, welcome back. My name is Yapsara, you can also call me Yebi, and y'all, in today's video, I just kind of want to share with y'all this conversation that I had with the Lord last week, because I reached this breaking point that, there have been multiple moments that I reached a breaking point this year. However, this one was a little different. So if you have been in a season where you're suffering, like truly, like really suffering for the Lord, walking a path where you've let a lot of things go for the Lord, like you are truly pursuing Jesus, you are truly pursuing the higher calling, and when we do that, we go through a lot of suffering, we go through a lot of pruning, and the Lord is like purifying us, refining us, all that good stuff, but it gets really hard along the way. So I'm praying that as I share this with you, that the Lord gives you a breakthrough mentally, specifically for a mental breakthrough. I'm praying that as I share this with you all, that it honestly sets both of us free. So let's just get into it. Also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, okay? I have notes on my phone, so I'm gonna kind of just be looking at them. But basically, y'all, last week I just reached a certain breaking point, and he has this amazing way of giving us just like this drop of his water, of his living water, and it keeps us going. You fall, you sit with him for a little bit, and then he gives you just enough to keep you going a little more. But at this particular moment, like, I felt like I reached like a tolerance point for the suffering as a whole. I had it, like, and I've had it multiple times throughout the year where I'm like, I'm done, but like legit I was like, Lord, like, this is wild. Like, at this point, like, it's like I had suffered so much throughout the year. I've suffered a lot throughout just the past 4 years. For those of you who don't know my testimony, I came from the New Age spirituality world. That all started in 2020, and I came to Christ, though, in January of this year. But this entire time, these past 4 years have been this pursuit of finding God, like really growing my relationship with God, but also figuring out like what exactly he wants me to do with my life, right? So this whole year, I'm just going to focus on this year, but this year, since coming to Christ, it's been just so much suffering. And for the first time this entire year, I kid y'all not, I actually started to get mad. Like, I started to get mad because it was like, okay, Lord, I'm willing to suffer this, I'm willing to suffer that, okay, I'm gonna just go through that, yes, I'm gonna do this, yes, okay, let it go, yes, okay, yes, yes to everything. And I felt like it was all looking like it was amounting to nothing. Like, at what point does this cross a line? And I knew that I wasn't gonna stay mad, because I just can't stay mad. Like, I love the Lord, but it's like for the first time I really started to get angry. Like, I was like, what are you actually doing? Like, I just didn't care anymore. Like, I was like, you know what, if I just end up dying here, then so be it. I got angry for a little bit. I didn't even really want to talk to him. I didn't really want to sit with him, because I was like, I feel like I'm done. Like, I'm done. Like, I have legit done everything that I could possibly do. Sorry, y'all, if I cry, because, I'm a little bit of a cry. If you're new here, you gonna know. But if you've been here before, then you already know. But, like, it's not like I am not willing to do this for you. It's not like I'm gonna be like, no. Like, what is the point of this continuous suffering over and over and over, the same things over and over and over again? I got mad. And so I didn't want to talk to him for a little bit. Like, I was still trying to sit with him, but like, I didn't really want to be open with him. Like, I just got to a point where I was just like, you know what, I'm off. Okay, turn me off. I just end up pouring my heart out to him about how frustrated I am with him, and about how I feel like he's just turning a blind eye to so much, that he's allowing me to get attacked and like all of these things, right? But I was just like, Lord, like, what is the point? Like, I don't understand how this is even right. It's like, you know that the Lord, everything has a purpose, right? Like, it has a purpose. The Lord is not trying to just drag you through the dirt. Like, that he loves you. But it's like, it's hard to reconcile knowing that the Lord loves you and him allowing suffering in your life, like prolonged, continual, like over and over again. It's really hard to reconcile the two. So even though I know that the Lord loves me, I know that I'm the apple of his eye, I know that he would do anything for me, and I love him the same, right? In the best way that I can. I love him back. But it's like, I don't understand why you're doing this. So I really just got to that point. And so basically, I was just throwing a temper tantrum, honestly, because I was like, I don't understand how this is fair, and I don't know why you keep doing that, and this person keeps doing that, and I don't get it, and blah, 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 blah. And then, so I basically just threw a temper tantrum. After my temper tantrum, after I laid it all out, snotty-nosed and all, he finally started to show me things and just give me revelation. And so I want to share with you all a little bit of what he shared with me in that moment. He slowly started to show me how my frustration and my, like, all of this, like, just my anger, my frustration, like my temper tantrum basically was not that, the Lord hasn't done certain things, or, that that I haven't reaped what I've sown, or like all of the things that we would look at on paper, like in the physical. But that honestly, what was truly hurting me, that suffering, like the core of that suffering wasn't the fact that I was suffering physically, but that there was a part of me that was really genuinely, like, my feelings were hurt. Like, he hurt my feelings. You get what I'm saying? It's the same way we have relationships with people, right? And like, people hurt our feelings. And I was just like, yeah, like like, you're hurting my feelings. And this is when he starts to tell me how I'm basically suffering more in my mind than I am physically. When you are in a certain place, it's just really easy to magnify the problems. It's like you can't see anything but that problem, or but that situation, or but that circumstance. There are certain things that I know this about myself, and this may be all of us, that there are certain things that I don't want to change my mind about that, though, because that's not right. There's certain parts of our suffering that that we refuse to surrender to, that we don't want to have to change our mind to make ourselves feel better, almost. You get what I'm saying? Like, if you shifted the way that you thought, if you shifted your perspective, you would suffer less. But it's like, we feel like we're so justified in feeling the way we feel because of what's going on or what we're going through, that we almost become like a rock. We become hard and immovable in changing the way that we think in that particular thing. Basically, he was trying to tell me that I was suffering more in my mind than I was in reality. There's like this anticipatory anxiety. It's like anticipating future struggles, anticipating future suffering, anticipating future things. It's like it robs you of your peace in the moment. So you're like, physically, if you really just sat still, you'd realize you're fine. But in our mind, we suffer so much more. And this is what he was trying to show me. Basically, he was like, you worry so much, but you don't even realize that what you're doing is worrying. Like, you're worried. Sometimes it's so easy for us to justify our feelings because in the reality of it all, it's valid. You get what I'm saying? It's so valid to be mad. It's so valid to feel hurt. It's so valid to be upset about what you're going through. Like, it's so valid for you to feel every bit of what you're going through. Like, the Lord wants us to feel our feelings, but it gets to a certain point where you have grieved the same thing over and over and over and over again for years, for months, where you have literally mourned a certain thing over and over again. Like, why won't the Lord change it? Why won't the Lord do it? And you have mourned and grieved and mourned and grieved, and nothing changes. And at that point, what needs to change is not the thing, but your mindset about that thing. There's a ceiling. There's like the point where you will go to, but you will not go past that point. And the Lord be wanting to push us to our limit, to push past the limit of suffering that you even think that you can take, because there's glory that the Lord is going to reveal through that thing. There is a reason why the Lord allows it. Like, mind you, we can look at Jesus and see that yes, he suffered extremely, but now he is resurrected and sits at the right hand of God. Like, yo, like, it's not like you suffer for no reason. It's not like there's not, and it's like the power that the Lord, like, can you, like, when you go through suffering, when we go through suffering, there are many people in the Bible we can look at, but y'all, just think about Jesus. Like, just look at Jesus's life and see through that. Look at your life through the lens of Jesus's life, and let that bring you peace to know, like, to look at him. You get what I'm saying? Like, watch him, look at what he went through, look at how he handled it. Our feelings are so valid. Even Jesus had many emotions. He was human just like us. But there's a certain point where we've justified our feelings so much that it makes us hard in that area where we don't want to repent, where we don't want to change our mind about that thing, and it causes us to suffer unnecessarily. You get what I'm saying? We end up taking on this victim mentality, and that is where it starts to teeter into becoming unhealthy, and it can pollute our relationship with God. It can pollute our heart towards the Lord, not because of what we're going through, but simply because our mental, like, our mindset has not changed, has not shifted. And I'm telling you right now that one area in your life that you're waiting for the Lord to move, or you have grieved and mourned for change in that area, that change will happen after you change your mind about it. There's something that the Lord wants to do in you mentally to break past a limit that when you feel like you've reached your breaking point, like you're absolute, like, I'm done, that there is something that the Lord wants to break past that point. Like, you can't stop there just because you've reached your limit. You have to push past that. That is a true breakthrough. Trust me, I'm still working on it myself, but it's realizing that one area that I did not want to surrender that, because it felt like I was going to give in to it, that was exactly what the Lord needed me to do, was to surrender that area of suffering to him, to agree with him on that. If it be his will, it's literally like Jesus in the garden right before he's about to be crucified. Like, if it be your will, then so be it. And mind you, while he's telling me all of this, he's reminding me of all of the moments throughout the year where he's had my back. And I'm pretty sure you can look back at his track record throughout the years, where you see that every time you needed something, he provided for it. He might not provide for everything you want, but the things that you really need, that you really crave, like, somehow, some way, he really makes it happen. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know, why am I so upset? Like, why am I on the verge of giving up? Like, you know, it's like literally, like, this is repentance. Really thinking like, well, why do I still feel like this? It's been months, it's been years that I've carried this suffering that I'm trying to surrender to the Lord. Like, I'm like, why? When every single time that I needed something, he's provided it. Why am I so worried about my future? Why am I so worried about tomorrow when the Lord has proved day after day after day that he provides? That he shows up, that he delivers, that he is faithful, that he loves me truly. You get what I'm saying? This is what the Lord wants to break in us. It's this mental stronghold. Literally, there's been times where I haven't even asked him for something. Before I've even asked him for something, it's just been there. I kid y'all not, like I like there's so many examples, but like every time I needed something before, I didn't even have to open my mouth to ask for a thing, and it was there for me. It's literally like the scripture in Isaiah where he says before, I'm going to put it on the screen or in the description, but he says, before they even ask, I will answer. Like that's what he's been doing before we can even open our mouth to ask him for something. He answers every single time. So why do I worry? Why do you worry? Why are you stressed? Like he's literally like, why? Like, why? When I prove to you over and over and over again, and maybe that's the lesson for all of us, to learn to really know that we do not have to worry, that the Lord has our back. So basically, after he was just shifting my mind in this way and really just challenging my thoughts, right? Really challenging my mindset, I just wrapped it up and I was like, okay, we gonna talk more tomorrow. And the next day, I literally sat, and the Lord is so good because he be knowing, okay? I literally sat, I opened my Bible the next morning, and it just so happened to open to Job. And there was a particular verse in Job that I want to read to y'all where the Lord really just hooked me. This is Job 40. Let's start at verse 6. And this is when the Lord is replying to Job after Job has basically just threw a temper tantrum, just like me. So this is the Lord responding to him, and he says, "Then the Lord answered Job from the whirlwind. Get ready to answer me like a man." I literally feel like this is my interaction with the Lord, because it's like he challenged my thoughts literally the same way that he challenged Job's thoughts. "Get ready to answer me like a man. When I question you, you will inform me. Would you really challenge my justice? Would you declare me guilty to justify yourself?" I'm gonna read it again. Would you really challenge my justice? Would you declare me guilty to justify yourself? And when I read this, I literally was like, wow. Because that's what we do. We would rather say that God is guilty of doing this and doing that and being neglectful and not caring about our feelings and not doing this and not doing that. Like, to justify our feelings. He says, would you declare me guilty to justify yourself? Would you declare me guilty? Would you declare me as wrong for the way that for my plan, for the way that I am orchestrating things? Would you declare me guilty to justify yourself, knowing that the Lord is above it all? Like, what? Like, it's God. Would you declare me guilty to justify yourself? Like, this is a question to meditate on. Would you declare me guilty, the way that I move and the way that I act and the things that I do? Would you declare me guilty to justify you feeling the way that you feel? So would you declare me guilty because you thought it was fair a different way? That it's not fair, that the Lord's not fair, that it's not just, the way he's doing it ain't right, and this is not how it was supposed to be, and I shouldn't be feeling like this, and I done put in so much effort. Why is da-da-da-da-da, and how you gonna do that? Like, all of this. Would you declare me guilty to justify yourself? And look, this is what I put in my Bible. No, I don't even know. No, I wouldn't. I can't say that I'm more valid and my feelings are more valid and my mindset and what I want is more valid than what the Lord is doing, because he's doing what needs to be done. If you're going through suffering, if you're being attacked, if you're suffering persecution, if you're suffering with finances, if you're suffering with an illness, with a disease, if you're suffering with your family, if you're suffering at your job, like whatever area of your life that you feel like you've been suffering over and over, if it's a certain situation that just hasn't changed and you just keep grieving that same thing over and over again, I'm telling you, it's time to change the way you think about it. Like, I really feel that in my spirit. Like, I feel that it's time to change the way you think about it. It's time for you to challenge the way that you've been thinking about it this entire time. It's time for you to break past the mental limitation. You have to surrender that area of suffering to the Lord and allow him to transform and change the way you think about it, because there you find joy, you have freedom, you have peace, and you get a deeper revelation of who Jesus is, which is like the cherry on, it's the whole milkshake and the cherry on top of going through suffering. You know, we meet the Lord so intimately and deeply in the areas that we suffer. We're really able to meet him there. You know, we can always encounter God in amazing and like the high moments, but like those low moments is like that's where our relationship with God is really built. Like, that's where our foundation is built. It's literally like say it's a house. It's like, even in the house, I live in the basement, which is actually kind of crazy. It's like you're on the bottom level. And because you're on the bottom level, because you're low, right? I pray that this makes sense. When you're low, when you're brought down low, when you're humbled, when you feel like you're broken down, you're down low, you're literally on the floor, you're on your knees, you're laid out on the floor, right? That's literally, it's like the equivalent of why that's where you build your foundation, because you're already there. So you're building the foundation while you're there, while you're laying on the floor, while you're while you're building the foundation of your relationship with Jesus. And then from there, the Lord elevates you and takes you higher. But first, there's a foundation that needs to be built, right? And he's been doing that for a lot of us in this season. So basically, y'all, I just want to encourage you to know that the Lord loves you deeply, that the Lord sees your pain, that the Lord knows. The Bible tells us that when we suffer, he suffers. That's in Isaiah. That he feels everything, that he lives within us. He experiences every emotion. He knows our feelings deeper than we could ever know our feelings. He understands what we're going through. But even in Isaiah, it's like when the Lord it's talking about Jesus. But it says that the Lord it pleased him that the Lord would suffer, because he knew that it was going to set people free. He knew that it was going to be something for us. Are you willing to change your perspective? Because you value your relationship with Jesus more than your feelings? Are you willing to shift your mind to break past that mental limitation on how much you think you can bear and on what you think is right or not right? Not because you don't want to suffer or because you want something from God, but because you truly value the intimacy of your relationship with him. It's the most valuable thing we have. Every time I talk about, like, when it gets to a certain point, I be crying, because it's like the most important thing, the most valuable thing that we have in this life is our relationship with Jesus. It's him. So you can't let feelings, and you can't let feelings play you out of your relationship with Jesus. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm done, because today I don't want to be a puddle today, okay? Yeah. I just pray that this has blessed y'all, okay? And, just stay encouraged. I love y'all. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I pray that if this blessed you, just drop a comment, share your testimony, all the stuff. But I just pray that that you keep going, knowing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And honestly, that light is Jesus. So keep pursuing and keep going. I love y'all.